Welcome to RPGamer's review of The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure. This article is written by Pause, read by JC Servant, and the video edited by Her Frog. The intrigue in Crossbell is at a boiling point, and it's up to a scrappy band of wannabes and weirdos to save Zemuria from disaster. Fans of the Trail series are no doubt ecstatic that Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure is both finally seeing an official localization and launching just 6 months after the game's immediate predecessor, Trails from Zero. With improved pacing, more quest variety, and engaging combat, even the title's issues with an overlong finale, aging graphics, and beautiful, albeit overused music can't pull down an otherwise excellent adventure. With the narrative picking up shortly after the events of The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, the Special Support Section, or SSS, is a microcosm of an increasing tensions within the city of Crossbell. Pulled in multiple directions by powerful leaders, Lloyd Banning and his team of police misfits must navigate helping the local populace without angering neighboring states, the Jaeger Corps, and a questionable cabal of traitors all packed into Crossbell City and the surrounding countryside. Previously a notable NPC from Trails from Zero, Wazy Hemisphere joins the SSS and adds a much-needed level of lightheartedness. Without his addition, the plot, while excellent, would be dreadfully heavy. Instead, he serves as a perfect counterpoint to the melodrama, and even when the story becomes deadly serious, his irreverence in the face of hopeless odds helps keep the plot from crashing down. The rest of the cast carrying over from Trails from Zero also see satisfying amounts of maturation and resolution to ongoing problems. It culminates in an emotional final story arc for Lloyd and Kea, with the finale being one of the most emotional tour de forces in a series packed full of them. The sheer amount of world building, lore, foreshadowing, and hard-hitting plot cannot be emphasized enough, and none of which would be evident without a spectacular localization. The updated version of the Crossbell duology also includes some subtle nods to the Cold Steel titles, such as the members of Thor's Academy being present during negotiations with the Emberian Chancellor. As both Trails to Azure and the first two Cold Steel games happen within the same time period within the larger Zebonian story, these added tie-ins help to make the titles feel more tightly tied together. However, as a result of this, Trails to Azure is not an appropriate starting point for anyone interested in the overall series. Despite this, both Crossbell games come highly recommended, as the story is fantastic and pays off in both large and small ways, especially in Trails to Azure. Combat shows further refinement and foreshadows where the series ends up with Trails of Cold Steel. Players can prepare their characters for a variety of combat situations by ensuring their orbits, combat devices that use quartz to unleash various spells and bestow power-ups, are in tip-top shape. Quartz comes in 7 different varieties and bestow combat perks, largely via stat boost, as well as exploration benefits, such as showing where all treasure chests are in an area. Enemies are generally visible on the map, and the SSS can try to get the jump on foes by attacking them from behind and stunning them, or by simply running into enemies that have not yet noticed the party for an advantage. Each character has a slightly different layout for their orbment, and stacking the right type of elemental quartz unlocks spells, known as arts, that can be used during combat. Trails to Azure introduces a very welcome menu screen that shows exactly what spells a character has unlocked. Diversifying spells across the 4 party members is both useful and necessary for some of the more challenging fights. Quartz can be discovered in chests, received as quest rewards, or crafted via Sephith dropped by enemies. Debuting for the first time are the Master Quartz, gems that fit in a special slot on the character's ornament and grow over time, providing both increased stats and special passives, such as providing temporary buffs at the start of combat or increasing the chance debuffs or stat-altering effects will land on enemies. Once combat begins, turn order is displayed on the top left of the screen with a variety of icons denoting special boons or occasionally penalties a character may have during a specific turn, such as a guaranteed critical, recovering hit points, or in rare circumstances, dealing or receiving no damage at all. Some abilities can change around the turn order, such as a special craft which delays the opponent's turn, though these cost combo points, or CP, to use, and cannot be repeatedly cast. Orbital arts, bestowed by equipped quartz, have a charge time, can also shuffle around the turn order in favor of the player or enemy combatants. During heightened points in the story, a new burst meter will appear. Once filled, players can activate it to prioritize their team's turn for up to 5 turns. During burst, arts also have no cast time, and the cooldown for other abilities is reduced. Throughout the game, special extermination quests are offered to the SSS, each of which drops a special book which teaches a paired special attack skill. These cost 100 CP from each character and generally provide a large area of effect, high damage attack skills. Lastly, any character with over 100 CP can interrupt the turn order at any time with a powerful S-Craft, which drains all their CP, but have major benefits such as a party-wide heal, blocking all incoming damage, or applying major debuffs. Much like its predecessor, Trails to Azure is noticeably easier than both the Trails in the Skies and Cold Steel titles, though players can adjust the difficulty to find the appropriate level of challenge. Overall, combat is fast-paced, stays interesting throughout the game's 80 or more hours of gameplay, and offers ample flexibility to experiment with. The music is spectacular, with the Flare series fans have come to expect, but after 2 full games with a nearly identical soundtrack, repetition does sink in. Without the facelift the Nintendo Switch and PC versions received, the PS4 version graphics are showing their age. And while this is understandable as the game began as a humble PSP title over 10 years ago, combining together slightly tired graphics with recycled music is a bit of a letdown. Also, notably missing from the PS4 version is a dialogue log, which in a text-heavy game lacking English voice acting is supremely frustrating. The voice acting also occasionally suffers from oddities, notably some lines being much louder or quieter than the rest of the scene, even when a character isn't shouting or whispering. For those looking to kick back and relax between missions, a variety of side activities can be undertaken, with ample rewards for doing so. Cooking recipes can be found scattered throughout the region, generally found on posters hung on walls or in inconspicuous books. Completed dishes all have their uses in combat, including as damaging items. For those who prefer pulse-pounding puzzle action, Pom Pom Party makes its first appearance and can be played at the SSS headquarters. A Match 3 meets Tetris-style minigame. Each opponent has their own quirks, and Lloyd will need to fill their field with palms by creating matches. Chaining multiple matches together increases the rate the opponent's field fills up. Alternatively, Lloyd can relax and drop some bait into fishing holes found scattered throughout the world. Despite being side activities, all 3 provides tangible benefits for combat and are enjoyable ways to break up big blocks of story content. Pacing is significantly improved from the previous title, with the game moving along decently for most of its length. Quest variety, while still leaning towards being fetch-driven task, has markedly improved, buoyed by fast travel inside the city unlocking almost immediately, and the team acquiring a vehicle which acts as a quick method of moving to points of interest. While there are still times the SSS has to walk to a location, particularly in the overly long finale chapter when areas are heavily restricted, and often for extended periods of time. However, these are the exceptions rather than the rule, and generally traversal on foot is limited to dungeons or locales where a vehicle doesn't make logistical sense. For those who enjoy Trails in the Sky, Trails from Zero, or the Trails of Cold Steel titles, diving into Trails to Azure now that it is an official release has arrived is an absolute no-brainer. Despite the game's aging presentation, an excellent story, quality localization, and multiple quality-of-life improvements will overcome any qualms players may have about minor issues, and fills in a critical narrative gap in the overall series. While it isn't recommended as the first Trails title for newcomers, for established fans of the series, The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure is an absolute must-play. Disclosure, this review is based on a free copy of the game provided by the publisher. RPGamer gives The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure a 4 out of 5. For more details, hit up the link in the description below. For more video content, subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Twitch for daily streams of your favorite RPGs. Join in on the discussion at rpgamer.com/discord. And for the latest in RPG news, head over to rpgamer.com.